Hello, everybody. Hello. 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 Dead Money. Hello here. Dead Money here. Hello, everybody, and welcome. This is the Dead Money Podcast. And holy shit, I did it. I got back on the horse of poker. And no, that's not a Kentucky Derby joke. Although I do enjoy horse racing. I mean, how could you not? It's 2 fucking minutes. But anyway, it felt great to be back out there. Like I said recently, the best feeling is being locked into the groove of poker and playing every day, and even more so than being on vacation. So I played 24 hours during Thursday, Friday, and Saturday. And without further ado, let's get to the highlights from each day. So Thursday, I played close to 9 hours, and the entire time, this middle-aged Southern fellow was there. We're going to call him Buck. And Buck turned out to be quite the adversary, as is the reputation for Southern poker players. It's not that he was this constant aggression-pumping behemoth. I mean, he'd go in periods where he wasn't doing anything noticeable, but he was very steady action. I saw him 3-bet in early-ish position raise with ace-10 offsuit, but it didn't seem very calculated. It just seemed like he was just clicking a button. He was min-raising pre a lot, but when I saw him 3-bet that hand, I thought, okay, I can totally cold 4-bet at some points without a pure premium. So then we get an under-the-gun raise to 15 from a reasonable player. And Buck is next action, and he 3-bets to 45. And I have ace-9 of diamonds on the button. But first, the next action after Buck was this young European player who seemed competent, but also definitely giving that he's going to be playing quite nitty. He thinks for a while, and then he calls. And I felt like he had a pretty big hand because he looked very close to 4-betting himself. So it folds to me, and because of all this, now I'm not so hot on cold 4-betting, and even though I have the button, cold calling 3-bets is just not something you should be doing, especially when the open raise came under the gun. It still felt nitty to just fold because my original plan was to 4-bet, but sometimes plans change. So I folded, and then, of course, 2 more players after me cold called, and the original raiser called, didn't 4-bet. So they go 5 ways. And, of course, I'm just praying that I miss. But, of course, the flop comes 8-7-4 with 2 diamonds. So now I have to watch this 6 sweat. Buck, who had 3-bet, he bets something. And the European player called, and another player called. The turn was 3. 2 spades now. Okay, we're almost there. Then a check to the Euro. He bet, and only Buck called, so they're heads up. And the river, the king of diamonds. So all I did was come that close to putting myself in a position where I'd get the nuts, but instead I just get to sit and watch. Then Buck leads for some really small, stupid size. I think it was like 150 into a lot. The Euro calls, and he wins with pocket queens, and I don't think he had a diamond. So I was right to have thought he's got something I don't want to just be 4-betting against. And you know what Buck had? 8-6 offsuit. He 3-bets that hand from under the gun 1 against the under the gun. Flops top pair. 8-7-4. And ends up losing 3 streets with it while I sit here with my dick in my ass. Someone tell me what's more tilting than being on the fence about playing a hand, not doing so, and then getting the nuts with it. Now, if I run it back and do decide to cold 4-bet, you have to figure I'll go heads up with the Euro and his queens. But this probably wasn't going to be an enormous win for me unless I bluff all in and get called. But either way, none of this is the point. The point is, what the fuck? So I'm early into my first 2-5 session in almost 2 months, and I'm already infuriated. But whatever. When am I not infuriated about at least 3 things every hour I play? Oh, and quickly, I know I've been talking a lot about 510, but, I decided that I'll just be mixing back and forth, and it's whatever. I don't care how it breaks out, But when I woke up, intuition told me to go play 2-5 at the win. So anyway, continue on. I'm not going to be in total chronological order from this day, but the next hand was against the other European player in this game, and he was directly on my right, and he was basically a carbon copy of the other Euro I just mentioned. He seemed pretty competent, but was going to be very nitty. So he opens from, I think, the hijack, and I'm next action in the cutoff with ace-king off. I 3-bet to 50. He calls. Flop comes ace-6-3 rainbow, so, all right. I should have a shot at this. He check calls 30. Then the turn is a queen. Still no flush draws. Not really a card I'm ever hoping to see, but he checks, so let's keep this party going. I bet 80. Then he does this little head cock when he sits backwards, and he's like, like he's so torn and disappointed about what to do. He thinks a while, and he calls. Okay. The river is another 3, which is a significant card, because if he has ace-jack, now his kicker is gone. But then he reaches back and now leads into me for 250 into 320. What? Every time I pay off a nit, I really want to shoot myself, and I decided to hell with this. Between this line and this little show he put on when he tank called the turn, this is not going to be a bluff, nor is this going to be some random ace, because why would he want to do that? He's nitty. I mean, it seems it should be hard for me to lose, but hell, he could have 3s or 6s too, so it's pretty hard for me to win. I mean, this is chop or beat territory, and probably beat, so I fucking fold, and then a minute later, he's racking up not to leave, but to table change, and he asks me, and he was friendly, but he asks me, what did you fold? Now look, I don't consider myself a bad loser, but I'm not a very pleasant loser, but I'm not a bad loser. And the only thing that brings out the unpleasant trees is when people, especially when it's the person I just lost to, either asks or makes stupid comments to me right after I've lost a hand. And granted, this hand wasn't that big. It was big enough where, on principle, it's just like, what the fuck are you asking me right now? So I looked up at him, and I was just like smiling like that, like the I hate you smile. But I couldn't even think of what to say. I was so dumbfounded. I think I said something like, I'm going to tell you first. I think I said that, but I'm not sure. I do know I did say, well, what'd you have? He said, ace queen. Yeah, that makes sense. I believe him. And I said, I had ace queen too. And he laughs, of course, and then he leaves. All right, so not a big deal. Next hand, it folds the buck, and he makes it 25 now. And this was like so sick because I've been waiting for a chance to 3-bet this guy since he kept opening to 10, but now he makes it 25. Whatever, fine. I've got Jack 9 of hearts on the button. Was gonna 3-bet, but now that he's come out of nowhere with this much bigger size, fine, I'll just call and go 3 ways, knowing that the 25 could be totally random. And we're all deep. The flop comes king, king, jack. Big blind checked, and buck bets about half pot, 35. All right, I call. We go heads up. The turn is a 10, and he checks. And most often I'd probably just be checking behind, but because buck is so loose and weird, I bet 65, and he thinks for a while, and he calls. And I'm thinking about betting really small on the river too. I haven't decided yet. But then the river is a queen. So an ace makes Broadway, except now I have the low straight, and he checks again, and I'm really not sure what I can get called by, but when you're playing against people like Buck, Oftentimes, you can just spit on them in pots like this, and they talk themselves into doing something. So I do just that. Probably should have gone even smaller, but I bet 50 instead of like 280. But he immediately makes it 500. He'd made some other bluffs before, but they were mostly with small sizes, nothing like this. I mean, I'd never seen him pick up the chips that fast and just drop them in. He's supposed to have a full house when he does this, but it's very easy for me to see him just having some huge overplay with an ace. Like maybe ace 10. If I had any boat, I think I would have rejammed. But in any event, I fold and he doesn't show. And he showed some small bluffs earlier, so if he's not showing here, maybe he had it. So we game on, and then I went card dead. Like, really card dead. I think I went about 3 hours without doing anything. And sometimes that can really lull you to sleep. Because during that, it folded to Buck in the low jack. He makes it 10. And then I just fold Queen 8 suited in the cutoff. And the instant I threw it in, I thought, God damn it. Why the fuck didn't I just 3-bet that hand? I know it's not a great hand and I still got a few people behind me, but in position against Buck, it's going to play okay. It's not that folding this is an epic blunder, but the players behind me were tight. And it's just the type of spot I don't mind going after at all. I mean, the guy is a fucking fish. And he's deep. And he's from the south. So after I fold, of course what follows is a run out of 5, 6, 7, Jack 9. Missed out on the straight against him this time. First I missed out on the nut flush in what would have been a 6-way pot, including me, and now I miss out on this. Although there is one other thing. The button called his $10 raise, and he had 10-8 of diamonds, so he had the nut straight. My hand would have lost to his. So of course I'm asking myself, if I had 3-bet to 35, would he have cold called the button with that hand to maybe play against Buck? The answer? I don't know, and it doesn't matter, but when you're card dead and folding hands that turned into a fucking oil well, what else can you think about? He probably would have folded Brie, because he really wasn't that much action. Oy vey. Next hand of interest, I got Jack 10 of clubs under the gun and make it 20. And we go 5 ways, including Buck. I think Buck's the big blind. The flop comes King, Queen, 3, rainbow with the backdoor flush draw for me. We check to the button, who's this Bulgarian reg. More on him later. And he bets 60. Buck calls, and I thought about check raising pretty big here. I mean, it would definitely be fairly reasonable, but the button is uncapped. He can have king, queen, or 3, so it's really just a matter of estimating what he's gonna, what size he's gonna use if he does in fact have one of those hands. And if I do check raise against that range, even if he is at the top, he is not going to 3-bet. He will not 3-bet king, queen. He will not 3-bet 3s. So you don't have to worry about getting 3-bet. That's actually a good reason to check raise. Thinking about it on the fly here. And, I have a straight draw, so it's like, if I turn my straight, even if he's at the top of his range, I got him for the time being, so it's actually totally not that risky to check raise there. Especially if you think he could be somewhat marginal. But I opted to call, which, as we know, is totally fine, blah, blah, blah. Got a lot of equity. And if I don't get there, I still may find some other way to win this. So the turn was a 10, giving me a pair now. We all check. The river was a brick, and Buck checks again. The pot has 280, and I'd been quiet for a while. And I like my hand now to bluff for 3 reasons. Number 1, me taking this line with ace-jack seems conceivable. Raise under the gun, check over, call the flop, looking to hit Broadway. Totally would seem sensible to other people. Second reason, if either player had ace-jack or jack-9, they'd have bet, so me blocking those hands with the jack doesn't matter that much. What does matter is it blocks them from calling because they have a jack blocker. And the third reason I like bluffing here is I have a pair of 10s also, so that blocks them from having 2 pair in case they want to get stubborn with that. I hadn't been doing much. And while Bulgaria knows I'm not completely nitty, I flashed him one glance before taking action, and I didn't think he was looking to do anything here. Like I said, I almost check-raised the flop, and I actually just kind of wish I did. I think it would have been better. So, whatever. I bet 450. Bulgaria folds immediately. He gets back to Buck. He thinks for a little bit. He just seemed kind of confused by the size. Since I've been invisible for hours, and now all of a sudden I go massive. And then he folds like, okay, I guess he has it. Hard to imagine, though, I'd have won this hand at Showdown. Next spot, I get ace-king off. I make it 20. There's one call. And then this middle-aged Asian lady 3-bet very big to 120. Folds back to me, and this woman has been wanting my head for a few months now. Ever since she saw me lose a bluff a few months ago, and it was only a single raise pot where I went 3 barrels, wasn't massive. But ever since witnessing that, she's had this perpetual scowled look on her face because she realized that there's been spots where she thinks I bluffed her, and she's right, I did. And she's just been like, not exactly coming for me, but really like wanting a piece of me whenever our hands get thrown in at each other. And I hit her hard once in a spot since she has been gunning for me, I guess, with a straight. I talked about this hand in another episode. The board had 4 to a straight. She bet called the turn after tanking. The 4-liner was already out there. And then she tank called a big river bet. Now, as far as her play against everybody overall, I mean, she's just a passive, loose-ish nit. She limp calls a lot. She loves her cheap flops and doesn't 3-bet that much. So when she 3-bets to this massive size with the button, her favorite place in the world because it's where she can see a cheap flop in position, I don't need to defend against this. I'm getting a really bad price, and I'm going to miss most of the time. I don't think it's a must fold because if I hit a pair, she's not likely to fold. I can count on 1 street, maybe even 2, so that, makes up for it. But because she's going this massive, between that and what I see from the pool, and this is probably the most important part, her choosing this size does end up being aces or kings just a little bit too often. So I just fold. Fuck her. I'm not giving her the action here. She's a bad nit, and I don't think this is a good time. I mean, she doesn't ever want to do this. So if she's doing it, she's probably just got a huge hand. And when she took the pot, she seemed less than thrilled with this result. And it's just like, I don't know. I mean, she knows that I'm aggressive, but is thinking that maybe I'll think she's just playing back at me with something weak because she went so obnoxiously big. Like, no. Come on. You play the way you play, lady. I mean, it's... So in the next hand, there is a limper or 2 limps. Buck does his patented raise to 10. And I have queen jack off, and I think maybe the cutoff. I mean, this is annoying, but whatever. All right, I 3-bet to 50. I mean, this is part of what it's like to play against Fish. You get to play a lot more hands against him, and that includes crappy hands, and that, can make life tough because hands that are not as good as other hands are going to be more difficult for anyone to play. But you can still play them profitably against guys like Buck. So 3-bet to 50, and it folds to the Chinese lady again, and she's thinking for a little bit, and she calls, and I think this pot went 4 ways, including Buck. I think we got 200 plus some dead money out there. The flop was not shitty. It was ace, king, 10, 2 hearts, so I got the nuts, but no hearts. They check to me, and I can probably get away with going bigger, but I bet 125, and my bride-to-be, she now check raises me to 450. And man, is this beautiful or what? It gets back to me, and I think she's got about 700 left, maybe a little more. And so once I match her raise, the pot is going to be about 1,100, and it just seems almost impossible to me that she's just going to go with this hand. I still thought about just calling, but I didn't want to risk confusing myself on any bad turns, and there's a bunch of them. Or, worst case scenario, is even lose her action somehow. You know, if a queen or jack comes. I mean, I got the nuts here. She's not folding. Let's just do it. So I jam. Now she's thinking for a little bit. I'm like, oh my God, don't tell me she's going to fold. It never really looked like she was strongly thinking about folding, but I think she was probably realizing she made a huge fuck up and it's just give it to me. Just cut my throat all the way open. So she calls. Turn was nothing. The river was another number. It made the flush, but I was good. And you know what she had? She had ace king. Top two pair. It is too satisfying sometimes. No, it'll never be too satisfying. But oh my God. Oh my God. I was just telling you how she loves her cheap flops, doesn't like the 3-bet. And that, of course, characterizes a huge percentage of the 2-5 player pool. But she 100% knows that I 3-bet a lot wider than most. She has a fist-pumping cold 4-bet. I mean, I know ace-king can be kind of stressful to play and frustrating and everything. You know, especially when it's facing heat pre-flop like I was before. You know, out of position deep. But you know something? Sometimes you just have to 4-bet the hand whether you want to or not. And this really is not even a dilemma. This is a cinch 4-bet for her. She doesn't have anything else to consider here. This is a 4-bet. Period. End of sentence. So that's her first massive blunder. And then she gets this flop, hits it like somewhat hard, but there are ways she can be beat now or later. And then her check raising my c-bet to any size really, but especially to this one, is suicide. Suicide against me. She's committing Harry-Carry or whatever the fuck, whatever cult. Do the Chinese do that? I don't even know who does it. I think it's the Chinese. But whatever. She's killing herself right here, right now, in this hand. Because I am folding everything that she beats. I am not calling with ace-10 or king-10 because she's not going to check raise any hands worse than that. The only thing that can ever work out for her here is if I have ace-king also, in which case I think she would probably just get me to fold and she would just push me off a chop, and who fucking cares? But whatever I do go with, she's crushed. Now, if I have a set of 10s, I'm just going to go with it. I mean, if she has queen jack, then good for her. Still got outs. But when she raises this big with ace king, if I can go with my hand, she's fucked. Not to mention, there's still 2 other players left who could have flopped Broadway. So her check raise accomplishes nothing besides making flush draws fold from the other players. And if I had a flush draw, I probably would not have bet the flop into this many players, the more I think about it. So, I mean, shitty flop for her, but she made her own luck and got exactly what she deserved. And it's so satisfying to administer this type of punishment to somebody, a reg, who just really wants a piece of you and is determined to not be afraid of you and really thinks she's going to beat you. But honey, you play one way and it probably does fine enough against the rest of the field. I'm guessing that this woman wins. But sooner or later, she's going to have to realize that because I am not one of these run-of-the-mill 2-5 schmucks, that if she doesn't start making big adjustments to me now and understand why she needs to make them, she's going to be doing a lot of things very, very wrong, whether she gets a satisfying result or not. So before that hand happened, I was up a little on the day. Now I'm up a bunch. I was planning on like a 6-hour session, which I was getting close to. I don't know exactly how much time was left, but I found myself playing, all right, one more orbit, one more dealer, one more hour, one more this, one more that for like the next 4 hours. Because this was just the beginning of this first days back turn of events. So I've got king 6 of clubs on the button, and it folds to Buck, who raises to 10 in the hijack. And by the way, I had hours ago moved one seat to my right after the European who beat me with ace queen, or he claimed ace queen, after he had just left. I took his seat just to get Buck a little closer to my right. So anyway, I 3-bet to 35, and he calls, and the flop was pretty interesting. It was ace 10-6 with 2 clubs. So I got bottom pair with the nut flush draw. He checks, and, blah, blah. Betting or checking is fine. I don't really want to be check raised, even though it's not a disaster if I am. In hindsight, though, I think because Buck is so all over the place that betting is just better. But in the moment, I checked back looking to bluff catch. Except the turn was the deuce of clubs. Got the nut flush, and this time I'm in the pot. Now Buck bets 50. Kind of a big bet. I get so nervous about raising too big when I'm nutted that sometimes I go a little too small, and I did that here. I only made it 150. I should probably go to at least 190. But he calls. The river is a 3, so I can't lose. But instead of checking, now he bets into me again. He goes 200 into 370, so he's got something, but he can't be overly strong. So I raise to just 675. And he's thinking, and he's thinking. Seemed like he was agonizing. And I'm praying for a call. And then he shoves. Oh my goodness. I had to look back at my hand because I thought maybe I misread it and had nothing. Nope. I do, in fact, have the nuts. I call. And this guy had ace 6 offsuit. He did this. He flopped top and bottom pair. No clubs in his hand. I was blown away and left to wonder what I'd have done if I had only like a medium flush, because for all the ridiculous things he'd done all day, he hadn't even touched doing anything within miles as maniacal as this. We play against fish, and a lot of them, for all the mistakes they make, they still have some idea of what's going on in a lot of situations. And that's what Buck seemed like. But then sometimes these same people who you think have some sort of clue, even if not much of one, some sort of one, sometimes they do something that is so completely dumbfounding that you can't believe this is the same person you've been giving a little bit of credit for having some knowledgeability. What the hell possessed him to do that? What was he thinking? His hand is a pure bluff catcher. There's no value hands he can expect to beat. But he has 2 pair. If he thinks it's hard for me to have a flush, okay. So call. This is why you stick with these fish as long as you can, because you just never know when they're going to just give you a Hanukkah present. Golly. What the fuck, Buck? It just tells you how poor these people are at adjusting, and they have no idea what to even start thinking about. My only guess is he saw me 3-bet him with the queen-jack offsuit after being dead as a doornail for 3 hours. He sees me win this big pot, flopping Broadway, and maybe he thought, okay, this guy isn't as tight as I thought, so I have to do something about it. And this is what he came up with. I didn't ask him, but I think that was meant to be a bluff, right? But what does he think he's going to bluff me? What does he think he's going to bluff me off of? Like, the hand he's going to have to bluff me off of is fuck. I don't know. I'm done thinking about it, because there just comes a point where there's just no longer a point in trying to figure out what an idiot was thinking. But I will say, Buck, he was very polite and friendly, as you had that whole Southern thing going. because another player left, and I moved one seat to my right again, putting him on my direct right. Just little things you can do to increase your edge. But once I was next to him, we chatted a little. He just asked me how long I lived here, and he's like, you're a good poker player, like you're patient early. He said something like that. Now, he'd added on money a couple times throughout the day, but now that he stacked off, now he was starting to get really, really spewy. I raised to 25 with pocket queens. He calls from the big blind. I could probably get away with going bigger, but we'll just start with 25. The flop is 9 deuce 4, 2 clubs. He check calls 45, and the turn is a jack. He checks. I overbet 180 into 140, and he folds. And, that's too bad, but it's like, this is what happens when people get tilted, especially if maybe you're the one who got them tilted. It's great, but it also throws a wrench into how you're planning to go about things. I don't regret how I played the hand, because if he had something, anything, he's just going to keep on calling and chasing. Because after I stacked him with the king 6, I had also lost a couple bluffs, I think, at least one. They weren't like big. One of them was to him. That was a blind versus blind situation. And then we go blind versus blind again, and I got 6-5 of diamonds in the big blind. He limp calls 20, and the flop looked quite familiar. It was 10-8-6 with 2 diamonds. So another bottom pair of 6s with a flush draw. This time it's a small flush draw, and the board has a possible straight already. But when he checked, this time I did bet. I bet 20 and he called. And given his state of mind and everything, he's going to call so wide here that I don't need to miss value with bottom pair, and especially one that has this much equity. The turn is the 4 diamonds, got the flush again. And now he check raises me. I bet 55, and I think he made it 150 or 160. I call, river's a deuce. And he only bets 160, pretty small bet. And there's no way he's going to have me beat at this size going under half the pot. I would bet my life on that. If I win, I don't know what I get, but I would bet my life on it. So he's got like 800 left, which is more than the pot size once I match his 160. And I think normally I'd raise to like 500, but given how he was unraveling, this is not a normal situation anymore, and I think you just got to go for the home run and hope he makes another epic punt. Just this time calling it off, so I jam, but he folded. I'm guessing he probably just didn't have anything, or at least a hand that he knows is very weak. So after about 9 hours, I called it, and Buck was still there. He still had money, but he seemed to have calmed down a bit, and as I said earlier, he was more than prone to going extended time periods without doing anything wild, so I'd had enough. I didn't want things to turn sour at the very end of my first day back, but a most welcoming day back it was, leaving me eager to come back Friday. And for now, I think I'll just call it here, actually, and I'll tell you about Friday and Saturday in the next episode, because this shit's going to be long. I don't know if you want to listen to me talk this much, so, trying to be considerate here, even though you always have the option of pausing and everything. But, all right, whatever. I'm rambling on about nothing. We'll talk again soon. Bye.